Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the last day of our December board meeting. I hope that you all had a very good rest last night and that you enjoyed the activities. I see that we are all here, so nobody got locked in an escape room, which is good. Everyone managed to escape. I think it was a wonderful activity after the days that we had before, trying to put our focus and all our attention in different things. It was really funny, and thank you, Astrid and Diana, for organizing that funny and very relaxing activity. So tiring because we need to put a lot of attention on a lot of details. So it was a real challenge, but it was very nice. So for today, this is the last day. We still have a few things to go through. We need to go through the basis for conclusions, just for the sake of reminding everyone that this is not a document approved by the board. This is a document from the staff. So of course, the board is not only allowed but welcome to provide suggestions and comments, but it's not supposed that it's not going to be approved by the board. As you will remember, we had the plan to, if possible, go through the basis for conclusions for sustainability yesterday, but it was not possible. So today we will start with the basis for conclusions for the experts project, and we will follow with a sustainability basis for conclusions. So I will give the floor, and then after that we still have the presentation or a session on the communications for the rollout of the sustainability and experts standards, and we will have the executive session, the closed executive session after that, supposedly after lunch, because I don't think it will be possible to go through all this in the morning. So Laurie, thank you very much in advance, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, I realize this is the last time you're going to be handing a session. You're the last time you're going to hand a session over to me, Gabriella. So I really don't have much to say because Cam is actually going to do the slides on the basis for conclusion. All I will say is we will be relatively brief so that we can spend the time necessary on sustainability, which I know is a longer document than ours. So Cam, over to you.
Thank you, Laurie. And because it's 2024, the ending of the experts project, we do have the last expert slides for everyone to just look at. Oops, and it's the wrong document, so I apologize. Okay, right here. Okay, so just quickly, we received comments on the posted draft basis for conclusions from a few IESBA members and also the IESB staff. The task force did discuss and consider all the comments received at its Tuesday task force meeting just this past week, and the way forward to incorporate it into the draft. So the overview of the main comments, essentially the three areas, expanding the rationale for the delineation of the non-PI and PI additional objectivity requirements, which the task force discussed on Tuesday as to how we can also incorporate it better. Aligning the subheadings of the final standards to that used in the explanation. So for example, the standard uses audit, review, and other assurance, and we need to add review into the explanations as well. And other various editorial suggestions to refine and enhance the explanations, and also a suggestion to move the PIF evaluation up front into the basis for conclusion rather than the appendix. And so therefore, my very last slide, are there any additional comments that were not already shared with us that the IESBA members would like to provide on the posted draft basis for conclusions now? Okay, and if not, if the board is comfortable, then staff, we can take the comments received, incorporate it into the basis for conclusion, and then just finalize it directly. All right. Okay, back to you, Laurie or Gabriella.
Well, thank you very much for all that, everybody. And I'm going to hand back to Gabriella.
Thank you very much, Laurie. Of course, I did not mention that it was the last time that I was going to hand over to you in the session, but I like to keep things at its normal pace until the very last minute. So for now, you are the vice chair, you are the chair of the experts, and I'm going to treat you as such and leave the goodbyes for later today that we will do, of course. So apparently there are no comments. You did a good job. The body seems to be comfortable. So the next steps is for the experts, task force, and the staff to accommodate the comments received and as soon as possible finalize the basis for conclusions and circulate them, the final version to the board. So thank you very much. Very effective. Do you want to?
I just had a question. For the experts basis for conclusion, if the board are comfortable, we can finalize it directly. Do we need to recirculate it to the board? Or if the board's comfortable, then staff can just finalize it directly and,
Well,
yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to.
I'm very comfortable. I'm very comfortable, but let's see if anyone is not comfortable with that approach. If so, we can agree on you finalizing with these refinements and sending them direct. Okay, thank you very much. Chana.
I just sort of told Cam the comment. I didn't give it in writing, that in the basis, in the standard, it says audit review and other assurance, and in the basis, it says audit and other assurance. So just to pick up that comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Chana, with the eye on the details, which are very important. So with this agreement, Rich, please.
Yeah, in general, I don't think it's a good practice not to let the board see documents as important as basis conclusion in a substantially complete fashion. It does go out under the board's name. This one might be in better shape typically than we see at this stage, and so I understand why we might choose to do that here, but in general, I don't think that's the practice we should follow.
That is not the practice. Nobody follow Rich, because precisely we are scheduled to submit those documents to PIB by next week, by next Friday. So the matter of practice is indeed the board will have full opportunity to review the basis of conclusions before it gets finalized.
Yeah, but it's true that we are also trying to take a new approach to the basis for conclusions. As you have noted, they are shorter than usual. It was possible following the previous practice for the sustainability standards to have 80 pages basis for conclusions, and definitely that's not what we are now looking for. This should be really readable documents, synthetic documents, which have a purpose, which is to provide an idea of how this board responded to the issues that were brought, to the questions and to the public interest. So this is also part of the transition and the practice of having the basis for conclusions ready or very well advanced when the board meets to approve the projects. This is a good practice, because we know that afterwards it's the after time, and we look at things. Sometimes there are developments which are not that much connected with what we have done. So this is a good practice, but this really involves and requires a different approach to the basis for conclusions, which it's not only us. It's a common approach from the two boards in developing different ways and more agile ways of working. We will have an opportunity today at the executive session to tell you a little bit about the revised due process and a few things, but I wanted to make this clear as well. Luigi, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I tend to agree with this new approach. It is also fair to say that there are documents that require extensive explanation to the users, like, for example, sustainability, as already mentioned many times. I was involved in standard setting process at the local level, and I have to say that sometimes the basis for conclusion are really key to understand after some years which was the intent and the reasons of certain position, also in order to translate them into local regulations that may prove to be not easy sometimes. So I agree that there should be an agile process dealing with this, but I also think that they should be complete with not only explanation of how the responses has been treated, but also which were the key decisions and how certain provisions that proved to be very complicated sometimes are to be implemented in order to make sure that the intent is really understood by the users.
Thank you, Luigi. Well noted. And this is, of course, what the staff has tried to do, and I think that they were successful. The idea is not that the basis for conclusions replaces the guidance that we will actually issue in the Q&A, all those materials which will help the users with the standards. It's like just as you said, to explain the logic and the reasons why some decisions were made in some strategic topics. So I think that we are in agreement. We are all in agreement about the principles and about the strategic approach to the basis for conclusions. And we will continue refining the process and the result. But it's really another change that it's being put in place, and for good reasons, I would say. But these comments are very welcome. Also, your comments about how useful this is years before, to understand why some choices were made and why some decisions were made. So thank you very much for that. Ken, please.
Yeah, just to close the circle on the basis for conclusions. We discussed yesterday the process to finalize the basis for conclusions for sustainability. So that is well understood. The board will have an opportunity to review the further changes to the draft basis for conclusions next week. With regard to experts, staff will put through the refinements. My understanding is, Cam, there aren't any substantive changes, right?
Yeah, the main, it's refinements, editorials, and the more substantive one would be to expand the rationale for the non-pi delineation, which the task force did discuss also at its Tuesday task force meeting as to the way forward, etc.
Okay, so staff will, of course, exercise utmost care in finalizing the basis for conclusions for experts. Staff also will share the changes with the board, just to close the loop. So all the board will have an opportunity to see all the changes, all the refinements to the document before it gets submitted to PIOB.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you once more, Laurie, Cam, and Joanna, for the good job done. And I wish you a good finalization and successful finalization of this basis for conclusion. Thank you very much. So now we will move to the basis for conclusions for the sustainability, the ethics and independent standards for sustainability reporting and assurance. One package. I must say that I think that you were very successful in taking forward this approach of being synthetical and at the same time touching upon the right topics. But we'll see what the board has to say after the discussions that we had. And I'm going to hand over to Mark.
Yes, to start with, please, Gabriella. So, a couple of comments. Obviously, you saw the basis of conclusions as posted for the papers. Since then, as we fed back to the board as part of the turnaround process, Sylvia has taken the material that was in grey boxes in a number of parts of the board papers and moved that within the basis for conclusion. So where board members said that they thought that more detail was needed, that has now been included, and Sylvia will go through that briefly in a minute. Obviously, where board members have fed in more detailed comments, we're working through those and we'll bring those in. But can I please, like, recognising the fact that we've got a lot of material and it covers a broad sort of range of different things. If we can focus on fatal flaws at this stage, please, and not go down into too much drafting. Obviously, the material that we've got has sort of been through the papers and you've seen it as part of that. But I'm going to hand over to Sylvia and Laura, and they're going to run through between them.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, everyone. Sylvia, John, and I will be going through the draft basis for conclusions. Like Mark said, this is the the version that was posted for the meeting, plus the add-ons that Workstream 2 proposed in the turnaround document this week. So just going very quickly through the introduction, we can remove now the yellow highlight here. It's been approved. The IESBA approved the standards. We have a little bit of background explaining the sustainability reporting ecosystem, where the project started, the process through the exposure draft, the dates, the objectives of the IESA, and of the reporting parts. In the exposure draft, we have a gray box here at the start of the basis for conclusions, including the main key revisions to the exposure draft from that version to the version that was approved this week. We have some paragraphs setting out the coordination with the IEESB, which was particularly important in this project, and then how the standards comply with a few of the public interest framework characteristics. We then go to the topic of sustainability assurance. We have a section on the main objectives of the IESA, the equivalence, the framework neutrality, and the profession agnosticity. And then we go to some of the technical issues. So taking into consideration that we all wanted a rather summarized or short paper. There were only some topics were selected and to be included in the basis for conclusions. Of course, the most relevant ones are where there was more discussion and where more detail needs to be included. So the first one is the definition of sustainability information. We have, and this is something in terms of methodology in this paper, the technical topics are organized by, we have a few paragraphs introducing the topic, setting out the background, the early discussions pre-ED, and then we have a few paragraphs on summarizing the ED comments, and then the final paragraphs on those topics. They summarize the IESBA decisions after the ED and on the approved version. So the first one is, like I said, the definition of sustainability information, which is relevant for both the assurance and the reporting standards. Then we have a section on the scope of the IESA, which is divided into the scope of the ethics standards in the IESA and the independent standards in the IESA. And then we have a section on responding to non-compliance with laws and regulations, setting out a few of the issues that were discussed within this topic, mainly focused on the communications of NOCLAR between the auditor and the sustainability assurance practitioner, and whether NOCLAR in the value chain or the extent to which is covered by the section in the IESA. And so before going to the independence standards, I would maybe pause here for any, like Mark said, fatal flaw comments.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. Any comments from the board members, fatal flaws identified in this new version that is being presented? Christelle, please.
Yeah, I don't think it's fatal, but can you have a last check that all the acronyms that we use have in the text at least once where we have it in an extensive way? For example, those charged with governance or some, at least once. Yeah.
Thank you, Christelle. It's a detail, but it's not a detail because we know that sometimes people are lost, completely lost, and that we are so familiar with the acronyms that we don't realize that not everyone is aware. So thank you for that. Maybe there is nothing to do. It's everything is clearly explained. Ken, please.
Yeah, a suggestion. That's a very easy thing for the staff to do, and that probably would be a listing of the acronyms with abbreviations in an appendix, and that could be an easy reference.
Thank you, Ken. So I don't see anyone else. So Laura, I think that there are no fatal flaws, and it's agreed.
Thank you. I'll hand it over to Sylvia now.
So in the international independent standards part, we introduced at the beginning the concept of equivalence to part 4A. And then the first topic was the determination of public interest entities. It's, as Laura mentioned, we followed the same approach in that section as well, the brief introduction of the topic and the overarching approach, the comments from stakeholders and the ED, and the IESBA's discussion and decision. So I would just pause here to ask if there's any fatal flaw on the determination of pi. If we can scroll down, sorry, then the next topic is a bigger section on the group sustainability assurance engagement. And in that part, we really focused on the recent discussion we had with respect to the value chain components as well. And based on the comments we have heard from the board, we introduced a couple of new paragraphs. One of them is in 95, that, as you can see on the screen, it takes a bit. So one of the first topic that we clarified with respect to the determination of the components and the group components and value chain components, that there is now a couple of paragraphs explaining the issue regarding the passive investment in the value chain component. This is something that was already presented to the board as part of the gray boxes. Then if we going down, there is a section on the independence provisions when assurance work is performed at the value chain component. From paragraph 100, we introduced again, responding to comments on the simplification we introduced with respect to value chain components. So all the issues that we discussed on Monday regarding the application of the PI rules, the exclusion of group members who are from different firms, the exclusion of network firms of component practitioner outside of the network. Now it is all summarized and included in a fairly succinct way, but I think it's really clear with references to the specific paragraph. So it is clear that what are the paragraphs that we are talking about. So now it's added in the new version of the basis for conclusion to respond to the comments we received. So this is one thing that we added with respect to the independence at the value chain component, but we also added a new paragraph starting from 105 on the guidance on with respect to the meaning of performing assurance work at. This is the wording that was circulated in the version yesterday. It is a detailed explanation of what is in that specific paragraphs and in these bullet points. And we also, after that, we received some comments that maybe we can be a bit more clearer on what is the actual objective of this paragraph. So it would be clear that why we introduced that guidance. So I will give another look at this paragraph, and just to make sure that the wording we have here fairly reflects that point and the importance of the value chain component. And the other thing that we added here as well, it will be presented by reference under the effective date as well, but I think it fits here to mention the deferral to of the provisions applicable to the assurance work at the value chain component. So we would explain the background of the deferral, the objective, and what are the criteria to use this deferral. This text was already included in the version that we circulated yesterday, but we will add the specific changes with respect to the use of another practitioner. So I just wanted to highlight that these are the three key areas that we further meant to elaborate on in the basis for conclusion to respond to the comments we have heard and to better reflect the discussion that the board had. So I will stop here, and just to see that I recognize that probably you need time to read again, but it's just really the topics that is covered. If we can have some comments, whether you are happy with the content and not necessarily the wording.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. And yes, that's the objective, is to see if after these amendments that were made in the presentation, how you presented them, if there is, with respect to the content and the way this is being presented, if there is anything that the board members would like to add to make it clearer, or if there is anything missing in this basis for conclusions. Christelle, please.
I just had in my first reading one observation. So if I can, you prefer that I do it by written, or what's the best? Yeah. Okay. No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Christelle. Rich, please.
Yeah, and I realize some of the gray box stuff isn't reflected, but I believe we had discussed that at some point we were going to insert the discussion that relates to the definition of group component that says investments that don't qualify for equity method accounting. In other words, I think it's referred to as passive investments, which might be carried at cost or fair value, are not considered included in the group financials, because I believe it's because we don't reflect results of operations in there. We just carry them on the balance sheet. So I do think that would be important to get somewhere into the basis conclusion. And I think that's what we talked about, I guess I'll say earlier in the week.
Thank you, Rich. It's already in here. So the gray box that we circulated, it's already included in this version. So it's duly noted and it will be in here.
What paragraph? Because the word passive doesn't appear in the document anywhere. Passive investment.
Because the version is that was posted, and in the Friday documents we circulated the gray boxes. So since it was approved yesterday, we haven't circulated a consolidated version yet. I'm just highlighting. Yes.
95. Just.
Thank you, Rich. And Sylvia, Luigi, please.
Yeah, thank you. For me, but probably just me, it is really difficult to follow the presentation in this way, because it is, let's say, it is too short the time and too difficult to understand what has been added. So, but it is my issue probably. So I will wait for the updated version in order to, let's say, make it a completeness check on what I think is relevant, but it is nothing more than I already explained during this week.
Okay, thank you, Luigi. Any other comments? No, if not, thank you for this, for your initial, and I hope in many cases the last comments are the basis for conclusions. The staff will circulate the revised version for fatal flaw comments from the board members, and reminding again that this is not supposed to be guidance, nor to add to the standards. This is supposed to be a document that explains the, if I use the word, policy decisions that were made on the strategic topics and why we went in a certain direction, mostly when there were some more controversial topics. This is the purpose of this document, and I think it's good that going forward we streamline and clearly define what's the purpose of each of the products that we have. Otherwise, people don't know where to go when they need to know something. If it's about understanding how it works, what it is, and etc., it's guidance, it's Q&A, it's whatever. If it's about the policy, as you were well saying, Luigi, the reasons why this board decided to go in a certain direction, then this should be clear in the basis for conclusions. And I agree that it's very helpful. And it's a matter of accountability of this board to say, well, we decided this because that and that. And this is important to do. But I was just making clear that this is the objective of the document. So in reviewing the document, of course, any fatal flaws will be, the identification of any fatal flaw will be very welcome. But please read it with this lens and perspective that this is not guidance. Guidance will come, hopefully soon, but you will be invited and very welcome to contribute for that project of developing and offering guidance to the market. So I think we are ready with the basis for conclusions. Sorry, not yet. Sorry.
We just have a couple of more sections to go through to see. So the next section is using the work of another practitioner. There's no proposed change to this from the version that was circulated. So I'm just pause here to see if there is any fatal flaw comments regarding the topics, and Gabriela mentioned the discussions that we plan to raise in the basis for conclusion, using the work of another practitioner. Then the next area is the providing non-assurance services to sustainability assurance client. Is there any question or comment on that section? Then we will have a section on the independence matter when the firm performs both the audit and the sustainability assurance engagement. And this is the section where we are going to present the topic of the fees as well. And workstream 1 discussed that based on the comment from the PIOB, we will include some explanation regarding the fees, sustainability assurance fees in part 4B, and what was the board's approach on that. So that addition will come. Any comments on that section? And that was the last topic on independence. So I will pass to John to talk about the sustainability reporting.
Thank you, Sylvia. So yeah, the sustainability reporting section of the basis for conclusions follows the same structure as for the IESA. So there's a background and scope to the revisions, a bit of information about the ecosystem, the decision to focus on PAs in the first instance, and then the future work stream for non-PAs to consider that for preparers. Then just sets out the summary of the main changes in the exposure draft, summarising the comments received from respondents, and then the IESBA's decisions to address those comments. So I guess I'll just pause there in case there's any questions or comments on the reporting side.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions, comments? Well, apparently not. So are you ready? Okay. Laura?
Okay, thank you. Just to finalize, there's a final section on the effective dates. So this sets out the effective date for the standards. It mentions that this was another item that was coordinated with the IESB, and also, as Sylvia mentioned, there is a cross-reference here regarding the deferrals and the transitional provisions where they are explained further up the document. And then we will have, as an appendix, the flow charts to sections 5405 and 5406. And another appendix now with the list of acronyms. But go ahead, Sylvia.
And I just wanted to note that regarding the flow charts that we also circulated to you on Friday on those sections, the designer is currently working on that, so it's going to look prettier than currently, a bit less PowerPointy. So it will include both flow charts that that was in there in a design version.
Like, it's not pressure on the designer, but this is going to be the Philippe Stark of flowcharts for dealing with ethics and independence challenges.
Including the explanation of how.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the one thing we can't leave off, Luigi.
Okay. Okay, so we are eager to see the flowcharts designed by someone who is an artist and has to deal with these standards. Sylvia?
And I don't know, I cannot commit that it will be ready when we circulate it to the board, but we will try to do our best. But of course, it's going to be the flowchart that is currently approved with no changes to the substance.
Okay, there is no difference and no developments in terms of the content and the way the flowcharts are presented. So, okay.
Yeah, Sylvia, maybe more question. The diagram with the boxes that we discussed, would that also find its way in the basis for conclusions?
That's the plan, if the board agrees, but given that is a new diagram, I can only send it to the designer. Wouldn't take up a lot of time, but I think it's a useful material, so it will be added as another flowchart.
I would support, these are the last two slides, Ken, you're talking about. I would support putting those in. I find those very helpful.
Yeah, the board will have an opportunity to see exactly what we're talking about. It really, it's just a diagram to help visualize the different parties who might be involved in a carrying out assurance work at a value chain component, and what the independence requirements would apply to which firm and which engagement team and so forth.
Okay, thank you very much. Begoña, please.
Sorry, and thank you very much. Just I was listening you. The purpose of this basis for conclusion is to be a policy document, as you mentioned, but where is the role of the flow charts? This is my personal question. It's not a PIOB question. But I suddenly thought, I mean, to me, the flow chart is more to understand, to be useful for those that have to apply the code. In that case, is the basis for conclusions the best part for that? Yes, a personal question, nothing else.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think that at this point in time, we felt that these flowcharts will be helpful to understand the options that were made, because there were so many questions on how this would work and operate, that without that clear idea about how this works, it might be difficult to understand the options that we made. So it's like a support to the document to make it more understandable. You're right. I mean, when I say it's a policy document, I mean, policy, it's probably not the right word, but the idea is still to explain which options we made. But it's important that these options are understandable. So with so many questions, namely from the PIOB, and you will remember that there was a proposal in our last PIOB meeting for us to include charts and etc. So this is with an idea of being helpful in terms of making what's in the document in these parts understandable. But I understand your point, Begoña. We are not being purists in terms of just including the options, but I think it's helpful. If anyone feels differently, then we can review it. But this is going to be helpful from day one to everyone to understand why we made some options. Laurie, do I think?
Yeah, I think that clarity point, for whatever reason, in this standard, and we've seen how much we've gone around, it just seems to be an extraordinary situation. So clarity is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark.
I absolutely agree with you, Laurie. And I think one of the things, as we've gone through the sort of discussion around the standard, is that pretty much everyone we've spoken to has said, actually, these flowcharts and these diagrams are really helpful in navigating our way through. And we've heard that from board members, and we've heard that from stakeholders when we've gone out to engage with them. So we're very keen not to miss an opportunity to give people something that's really helpful.
Thank you, Mark. So any other comments?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to flag also that and you mentioned earlier, Chair, that there are going to be frequently asked questions that will be developed, and staff will work on these as a matter of priority. Of course, with in consultation with the two work streams, and these FAQs will be circulated to the board for full opportunity for a review and input. And this is going to be very important, even though we discuss how much you can put in the basis of conclusions, etc., and to try to be as clear as possible as to intent and so forth. But there is a limit in terms of the number of issues we can address in a basis of conclusions, or more precisely, the number of questions. So the frequently asked questions will come in quite handy in that regard.
Okay, thank you very much, Ken, for that clarification. Begonia, before we close this session, anything else apart from your question that you'd like to say from the PIOB side? No.
No, I don't have to add anything. We just wait for the documents to be sent next week, sorry. And then, sorry, and then we'll see. Just a question. Is that document that we were now looking in the slides, was that document circulated? Yes.
As it is now, no.
Okay,
That's why, yeah, it will be circulated
Yeah.
to the board members next week and then sent to the PIOB already finalized.
Understood.
Okay.
With these comments and the other ones that you have to make during the next week. No, I don't have to add any other thing. Thank you very much.
Okay, Begonia, thank you very much. Well, it seems that we are ready with the basis for conclusions. Thank you very much to the task force, to the task forces for developing them and adjusting them, and to the board members for this discussion. So we are a little bit early. I don't think that. Do you think that we should break now? It's too early. So we'll move to the next session, as long as the next group is prepared. The next session is on sustainability and experts communications, and I don't know if the ones.
Yeah, thank you. If you can just give us like a minute
of
to get the
course.
slides pulled up and everything.
Yeah, of
So
course,
just
Linda. Of course,
breathe for
2
now.
minutes.
2 minutes, we can do that.
Okay. Okay, so this is our last session before we close for the executive session, and this last session is on the communications for the experts and sustainability projects. This is an extremely important topic. This is how I see it, and I think that it's how most of you see it as well. I remember some conversations that we had along the journey, and I remember very specific moments with very specific people who, I must say, inspired us along the way. So what's going to be presented are the plans that are so far in place for the launch of the sustainability standards and the expert standards later in January, when the PIOB will hopefully certify them. The team has been working already on a few things. Some of you have already been approached, I believe, to contribute to this. But this must be not only, of course, a collective effort, but a very well structured and a planned and a strategically prepared plan for these standards. Do not forget that we are the last ones to arrive to the station. There is everything that we spoke before about the fatigue, about the impression that some stakeholders have that they are ready and there's not much more to come, and etc. So there is not only very, very high expectations on what we are able to do with these standards to make them meet the public interest and serve the public interest as we have in mind, but also we have an additional responsibility and challenge ahead of us, which is this on the one hand the effects of fatigue of stakeholders, and on the other hand the usual challenges in making the ethics message go through. all of you and all of us are invited to contribute, to collaborate. I will again insist on the need of every board member do the job of spreading the message in their own countries and within their own networks, professionally, personally, and etc. But of course, this does not preclude and requires a very well-structured and planned approach to communications. That's what Linda is going to present to you. Linda and Dave have been working on this plan, and yeah, I'm going to give the floor to Linda.
Thank you very much, Gabriella. Yes, we have been working for quite a bit to develop this plan, and it's involved a lot of different people. The plan was shared with the Planning Committee recently, and they provided some feedback, which we've incorporated into the plan to make it even better. Our approach is deep and wide. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that phrase, but deep in that we're going to have a lot of technical information that comes out, and we want to bring that to life with videos, with articles, with infographics, things like that. And then wide, just as far as media engagement and getting people excited about the messaging. That's how we get people to adopt and implement these standards. So it's awareness, et cetera. And that's what we're trying to do with this plan. So how have we started? Well, we've started on a really good foot. Yesterday, after the standards were approved, there was a LinkedIn post that went out from IESBA. And as you can see, there were to date, there were 253 reactions, 14 comments, 71 reshares. And that's not even 24 hours after the post. So we know we're going to get more and more engagement, and that's fantastic. And we also know that many of you have also reshared, and we encourage those of you that have not reshared or engaged to do that. It doesn't matter whether you reshare or whether you just put a message on this LinkedIn post, but some way to show your support for the activity. All right, so launching the new standards. Just a basic plan here, but like I said, we want to go wide. We want to engage the media in all possible aspects. That's going to begin with, that's going to involve as a foundational element, a joint press release to all subscribers. We have more than 25,000 subscribers in our subscriber list. So that's a lot of people. And once we have officially launched the standards, we will send out a joint press release to all of those subscribers. We're going to do outreach to the media target list or media list targets. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then share the information, share the press release with the Forum of Firm members via personal email. As I've mentioned, we have a video series. We're going to do a lot of social media, and then there's the website and digital content to consider. So this is kind of our plan for the next 10 minutes to talk about. All right, this is our meltwater media monitoring, and I'm going to turn this over to Dave. Dave is our expert in this area, and let him talk a little bit about the tool just to help you understand and to help you realize the benefits of this new tool. Dave?
Thank you all, and thank you, Linda. So meltwater, and I have talked to some of you in task force meetings, but for those of you who don't, or I haven't been able to talk to, meltwater is a media monitoring media monitoring what? System, right. It's an online tool resource. There we go. Now it's kicking in. That allows us to do a couple things really effectively. One is monitor not only where our brand and our name is popping up across the world in traditional media and online media. And that's what on the screen right now, you can see kind of back on the back end what I see every day since we've had this software. I can track where IESBA is being mentioned and also where the topics that we're focused on are being mentioned. For example, investment in private equity, firm culture and governance, sustainability, et cetera. I can target by keywords and even by jurisdictions and find out what's happening and have the pulse on all of the media occurring. This is all in real time. And so overnight, I had a ton of pops on my alerts and on my email about our announcement yesterday. So I'm able to consolidate all of that, package it up, and share it with our leaders with some data points, et cetera. We're using this right now. We're in the development phase of an initiative where most likely on a weekly basis, we'll be reporting back to you with what has been going on in the world of IESBA and our projects. So that's one component of Meltwater. The second component is media search. So this is a powerful tool. Not only does Meltwater go out, survey traditional media and find out reporters' information, detailed information, contact information, but also reporters feed contact information into this software. We're able to go in, research keywords, research topics, research beats, and find traditional media, reporters, editors, or not consultants, contributors, all who have focused on the issues that are important to us, say within the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And so we're able to create lists of these reporters, and then we'll be using this. I used it a little bit for Gabriella's reappointment, and we got some nice coverage there, but we're really going to use this. The biggest push will be in January for the sustainability release. I'll just leave it at this. You know, these types of tools, a lot of times in organizations, you'll see that they go out and find PR agencies to support them. We actually had at IFAC, they have Edelman for a long time. We used Brunswick last year, if you'll recall. These types of PR agencies have this exact tool in their back pocket, and that's really what they're able to deliver to organizations. They can give you a real snapshot of where your organization's brand is resonating, and then also the key influencers in media that you can target. So what we did over the past year is we took that element away from the agencies, we brought it in-house, and now we can control how to use it. And it's very exciting to me because it's come so far, this type of tool over the past 20, 30 years since I've started, and it's really going to be a game changer for us. I do believe that over the next 6 to 12 months, you're really going to see our brand go up, and a better connection with the reporters that are covering us.
Thank you, Dave. And just to kind of summarize what Dave said, Meltwater is basically going to help us in 3 different areas. 1, monitoring the news about the board and the board members. 2, to identify trends that are relevant to this board. And then 3, to help build relationships with stakeholders around the world. So it's incredibly valuable, and we look forward to doing more work with it. So Meltwater is just one component of media engagement, as Dave shared. What I want to talk about now is just really how we're going to utilize our media relationships. First of all, the foundation is the joint press release with IEESB, because this will be a joint release and there will be joint activities throughout in prep for the launch and post-launch. But anyway, it really begins with the joint press release, which has your basic information and which will be shared with all media relationships. But the level of detail that accompany that press release depends on the relationship with the media contact. First of all, we are working to establish an exclusive relationship with a media contact. It is someone that we worked with on the exposure draft. We're trying to develop that. We'll see where that goes. If we're able to develop an exclusive relationship, that person will be privy to information in advance that will help them develop their story, their narrative, and that works in our favor, but it also works in their favor. If we don't develop an exclusive relationship, that's okay. We will have what's called kind of embargoed information that will be sent to approximately 10 to 15 media outlets in advance. That will allow them to properly prepare for what they're going to write about with respect to the release of IESA. And so that works in our favor because they usually will provide a bit more depth of information, and that's a good thing for IESBA. Lastly is the expanded media engagement, and that is really just on launch day. We just send more than 150 emails to our media contacts with the press release to let them know that IESBA has been launched. Very effective. As I said, we're going wide. Our approach is wide. So that's very effective in getting the buzz, getting energy around the launch date. What are examples of some of the media contacts that we're going to be working with? Top tier, Financial Times and Reuters, of course. The trade journals, International Accounting Bulletin, you can read those. So anyway, we're doing top tier trade and then ESG and sustainability specific. We always invite you, we have a very long list of media engagement contacts or media contacts, but we always invite you to send us contacts because we can't be everywhere. So we may know the international media, but we may not know jurisdiction or regional specific. So we invite that. Meltwater is going to help us, but it will never replace personal contacts from you all. Media series. This is really exciting because I talked about wanting to go deep. We want to go deep with the technical information, but sometimes you have to ease your way into that. And we're going to do this through our video series. And we kind of look at it in kind of 3 different ways. We've got an external support series, and that's something that we've been working on. And excuse me, we're really excited to share that we've approached a number of global leaders to either issue quotes or participate in videos for this external support series. And we have already filmed Paul Bunter and Carol Adams. Carol's from GRI. We have Sue Lloyd committed, Alan Johnson, Chika Matsumatu, who is part of SAC, has committed, and we continue to bring on more individuals to help with this external support series. And these videos are going to be just, again, high-level support for what IESBA is doing in the sustainability ethics space. We will issue or release about 6 videos on launch date or around launch, and then more to follow to keep up that momentum. So that's very high level. Then the FAQ series. Obviously, there's an FAQ document. Again, we want to bring things to life. So we're planning to do an FAQ series. And the FAQ series is going to involve or include short videos from the technical staff that will complement our FAQ document. So maybe we identify a theme from the FAQ document that we want to bring into that video, and that FAQ video would have maybe 2 questions, 3 questions regarding that specific theme, and technical staff would speak to that or those particular questions. We're looking at videos, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if that, nothing really too heavy. This isn't a webinar. It's not supposed to be an hour or 2 hours long. It's just a short video to help answer a couple of questions about a specific theme. So we want to do a series of those. We see those occurring. That's probably going to be around Q2, quarter 2, and then beyond. And then lastly, animated videos. And we've done these in the past. We'll continue to do those in the future. And those will be kind of developed along the next year or so. So we have, I think, a very strong foundation for the video series. Social media and web digital. Lots of information there. I don't want to get into the bullet points because I think you can read them yourself, but basically social media, going wide, getting the information out there, raising awareness, creating excitement, driving people to our website so they can better understand what the sustainability standards say, and they can better understand how they're going to impact the public interest. So that's going to come through social media, and we have several different touch points, as you'll see in the slide deck. Web content. Naturally, there's going to be a need to redevelop or to amend the focus pages on the website. So that is kind of in progress now. Amarjeet and John shared information the other day on the adoption and implementation efforts. And so we're going to be working very closely with them. They'll have a lot of information coming out along with the technical team, and we will work to promote that information. So all of that information will go into the updated web pages. and then we'll filter it out through social media and other mechanisms. The IFEA landing page, there will be a landing page for IFEA that's going to be a joint landing page for IESBA and IAASB sustainability standards. And on that, we'll have the joint press release. We will have a joint video that's already been taped from Gabriela and Tom. And then we'll have the links to the individual boards' sustainability web pages. So we're working on developing that. And then and this is really not social media or web digital, but really we want to leverage global events like Climate Week. So I've put this in to help kind of encourage or spark your thinking about global events that you're aware of, like Climate Week, or there are some conferences that we participated in last year, actually it's this year, that we want to try to do again in 2025. So if you're aware of any high-level global sustainability events that you think IESBA might be a good fit for, again, let us know, please. Oh, well, here we are at the end. So I guess I just want to close by saying, or basically echoing what Gabriela said before we started this session, is your support and your input is critical for the communications plan to be successful. We have an amazing product with the sustainability ethics standards that have been developed over the past 2 years. So let's make sure that those really go forth and we create awareness and improve adoption and implementation. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can just wrap it up right now.
Thank you very much, Linda, and the board members' contributions and input is very welcome. Let me just say that this part or this launch will be shared with the IAASB, of course, taking into consideration that we are in completely different phases of the standards. ISO 5000 is basically everywhere. There is no place in the world or no organization who doesn't know about ISO 5000 by now, so it's completely making its way. We can't speak about the joint launch at this point, which is completely aligned because, of course, their objectives and their communications approach must be different from ours. Anyway, what we agreed, given this delay between in the approval and this difference in the approval deadline and the certification time of the two standards, was, of course, we would have preferred to do something still in 2024. Since it was not possible, we agreed that there would be a joint launch or an official joint launch after the IESBA standard certification in January. And this means that we'll have a joint press release, we'll have the joint videos, we'll have joint FAQ. So there will be a number of materials which will be common. And this will trigger also some joint initiatives that Tom and I are organizing to make sure that we try to mitigate this gap in terms of the different timelines in approval and certification, and that somehow we try to present this as a package. Of course, this does not preclude or harm our framework neutral nature of our standards, but in any case, this is what's going to happen. Still, the differences between how the two standards are already embedded in the stakeholders' horizon will determine different initiatives from the IESBA and the IAASB at some point. So I will have other comments, but I will wait for the board members to come in and give their contributions and input. David, I think you were the first.
Thank you, Chair. So maybe just a couple of things to add to what Linda said, because Linda and I have been talking, and we're actually looking at non-traditional outlets as well to really get this message out, to broaden that engagement that we've talked about throughout the week. So I just want to let everyone know that. One question I did have, and maybe this is something for us we can talk about offline, but just I'll plant the seed. One of the stakeholders I didn't see up there that would be, I think, really helpful, and maybe it's a timing question, would be IOSCO, and looking at Jean-Paul perhaps and seeing what he can potentially do to help us, because they're a really influential aspect to getting this adopted as well. So that's one suggestion. The other one I was thinking about, and this is probably where I can help as well, is some of the accounting bodies, because there are some bodies like ICAW, for example, in the UK, that are really, really keen to support this. So we can actually use some of those bodies as well to amplify the message because they're really willing to do that. So just a couple of suggestions around how we can do that beyond the CFO networks and others, which of course I will engage and we'll make sure we get the message out there too.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, may I just, yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Gabriela.
You're going to react to one of the things that you said on, yes, of course, your help on non-traditional outlets and publics is very welcome, and we very much expect that you will activate them. With respect to IOSCO, it's a very particular topic, of course. IOSCO has made a public statement 2 weeks or 3 ago, saying that they are going to replicate what they did with the IESBA. Of course, this is still subject because this is a different topic because IOSCO has to analyze the standards and make a formal decision of whether they support them or not. So the materials, the draft materials have already been sent to IOSCO. The Sustainability Task Force was going to have a meeting this month. I think it's this week or next week, I don't know. And the Sustainability Task Force will analyze them and then give an opinion or a recommendation to the board. So before we get to that stage, it's only promises and in principle approaches. But of course, we expect IOSCO and Jean-Paul Servet to be supportive and to make it in a public manner. But we are not putting pressure in that respect because we understand that there is a formal process that has to be followed before we get there. But of course, we expect them to support us. It's half of the way will be already done if it happens that way. So Linda, sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's fine, Gabriela. I do want to share though that the names that we had up on the screen were people that have either filmed or committed. We are working with others and IOSCO is on the list. So we're in conversation with them and really excited. And we feel confident, but we didn't want to get ahead of ourselves. And as far as working with different PAOs, yes, David, thank you very much. That's on our list and we recognize that's really important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda and Dave. I think it was Vania, the next one.
Thank you, Linda. Very good presentation. And I think it is unnecessary to state how important it is that the communication program works very close to the adoption and implementation group. I think we have much to share among us. Just a couple of suggestions. I would include the UNCTAD as an institution. We can get a video from the new director. She's very good. And it's easy for us to get a video from her as well. And also from the chair of Accounting for Sustainability, Jessica Fries. It would be very easy for us to get a video from her. In connection to the local representatives, I can also include the Latin America Alliance of ISAR, the Spanish countries. They are very interested in ethics aspects. I've been called to speak to them very frequently during the last couple of years, so they'll be very welcome to the news about the new code. And concerning the events, I would add the COP30 that will happen in Brazil. It will be in November, too late for the launch that but it is an important possibility in terms of event. And in Brazil, we are organizing, I've been talking with Gabriela, a big event in May that will deal with transparency and sustainability, having representative from IFRS Foundation and IESBA to cover the portion of reporting, from IESB to cover assurance, and IESBA to cover the aspect of ethics, in order to deliver the message that the three should walk together. And so I think it is very important for IESBA to put that in their calendar. Okay.
Thank you so very much, Vania. And I would suggest that you connect with Linda. So Linda, please, back to you.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, so I think it was Hector.
It was not me, but very briefly. recognizing that 80% of the content on the web on professional matters is in English. It's super understandable that most of our efforts are in that language. But thinking about sustainability which is going to be developed all over the world, and I'm thinking that maybe we should try to do an effort to reach out in different languages. And we have the staff, we have the board members to help with that. Not only with a short speech, which we have been doing lately, but maybe with some content, with a translation of some of the material we already have, because some people, I'm talking about my region, they don't speak English. So having that material in Spanish or in Portuguese would make a big difference in terms of spreading the news.
Okay, thank you very much, Hector. A good suggestion. Of course, our resources are limited, but if board members can activate something in their jurisdictions, namely, for example, in connection with the local PAOs, which may be interested in having these translations, and if they can help and support this initiative, it would be wonderful. I think, yes, Spanish is critical, and I think that Portuguese as well, because Brazil is in a very important jurisdiction now in terms of sustainability. So we can speak about that. Thank you. Ken, please.
Yeah, quick reactions, really, Chair. Thank you, Hector, for raising this. This is a very critical issue, the issue of translation, and it is critical, of course, because the world is not a world of only English speakers. So we have a very large part of the world that will need materials in languages other than English. And I think it's kind of more looking at a Margit's working group here to see whether that can be factored into the working group's thinking on ANI and how the working group could work with IFAC in particular, because IFAC is the one who really could be of most help and support on the issue of translation. So as we're developing the materials, the FAQs, the webinar slides, and what have you, let's kind of explore the opportunity to see whether we can have those materials translated, in Spanish and Arabic for sure, and in other languages, maybe the main UN languages, I would say, to try to broaden the reach of those materials as far as possible.
Yeah, sure. Japanese is also very important because they also have difficulties, and it's for them an issue that they have reported clearly when Jeff and I were there last year, that it's a problem for them because even the translation, given the complexity of the text, is very difficult. So anything that we can provide, possibly with their help, it's going to be very, very important. And it's a jurisdiction which is very supportive to what we do. And interestingly, one of the things that I found out in Meltwater 2 weeks ago was a Japanese article in a Japanese publication saying that JICPA, Japan is adopting the IESBA ethics standards. If it wasn't this instrument, I think it would be that information would come to us very late, if ever. So this is interesting, but yeah. We can think about the languages which are more important and where we can make an effort. Tomoyo, speaking about Japan.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you about referring about Japanese. So I also wanted to just to mention about the IOSCO that David already mentioned, that because that came up into my mind. And also about IAF, what kind of support message they can send, I would like to ask. For the community, I think it's very important to let the preparers know about this standard. And unfortunately, the preparers are less conscious about yes than the ISA 5000 possibly. So I think it's really important to work together with the IWSB side, like have some few minutes in their outreach activities or something like that and just to say like, by the way, the ESA has been issued as well or such kind of thing will help to raise the awareness of the preparers. So I think that's something worth to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomo. A very good point, and I think that David already had somehow addressed that. But we cannot forget the preparers' side of the story, and it's not a new public, but it's a public that we need to activate significantly. Amajit, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And just first to respond to the discussion on translation. So it is very much on our radar. We've discussed it several times. We don't know how to get it done, but we are, sort of dealing with we have the problem in front of us. So anyway, we'll find a solution going forward. So the presentation, I really liked it. My compliments. So, I particularly like the idea of deep and wide, which you mentioned. And also I observed the height, the sense of height, which your space shuttle visual, gives. So you covered all the dimensions, height, depth, and the width. So that's nice. Couple of points. I'm sure you are considering them, but nonetheless, let me just make it. One is on key messaging. When we do this launch, what are the key components of what we're trying to tell the world? So the value proposition, of course, has to be there. And more important, the consistency of messaging. It will be it will be communicated by many people. And so there has to be a certain consistency across what we say and where we say. The second point is that, again, it is linked with key messaging. We should just not focus on creating awareness. I'm sure that is the primary objective. And you excuse my bias, we also nudge them towards adoption and implementation. So if we can, take care of, apart from creating awareness, also a slight nudge towards adoption would be useful. I think we should use this opportunity to do that. And thirdly, the last point I had was, I believe when you launch, it will hopefully create certain buzz. So can we create a platform where that buzz can be captured? There would be discussions, there would be, can we have some handles where somebody responds to the questions that are being raised in various social media places? Or we create a dedicated platform. I believe ISSB did it for, I think they had a group called Transition Implementation Group. So we can check more details there. So there's a work stream on transition implementation and transition finance. So there is a public forum where you can raise your questions and get the answers. So these are few comments. Thank you.
Very good points, Amajit. I couldn't agree more on the importance of consistent key messages. We had this conversation before for the exposure draft, but we need to have it again and make sure that we go out with the right messages, attracting messages, clear messages, and the value proposition, which is something we all have to work because it's going to be absolutely critical, the key for adoption and implementation. So thank you for that. I'm not sure who was coming, but I think it was Rich who is waiting for some time now.
Yeah, no, just building off a little bit of what was said, a few comments before, as we look to groups who have stakeholders who have been supportive of us or involved in us, I would want to make sure that we at least pay the courtesy of going to them and sharing where we are. So for example, all of the members of the monitoring group, particularly the FSB, who called for us to do this in writing, but certainly other very important constituencies made up in that, who also have large constituencies under them when you look at things like the Basel Committee and the insurance commissioners and IFIAR and that. And secondly, perhaps some of them can also help us with awareness and adoption. So just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rich. Really important point as well. I will do myself what I can in that respect. I started yesterday already sending some emails, but that's a very good point to address each one of the monitoring group members individually. Thank you for that. Rania, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I picking up on Tomoyo's point concerning, I mean, I think I was looking at going through what the presentation, perhaps we can have a more intentional approach towards targeting organizations in the non-PA space. So the IAF is one, perhaps try to tap into, for example, different non-PA professions, for example, I don't know, engineers, I'm not that familiar with that space. Another suggestion is, and I don't know how that would sound really, but I mean, I realize that we have this coordination with the IEESB, but would it be also possible for us to consider targeting, for example, other organizations that issue assurance guidance other than IEESB, for example, accountability, or, I mean, we don't have to limit ourselves, I guess. I mean, we are coordinated, but we also have they have their own approach and timelines, and we can also have ours. And so we should, of course, be partnering and coordinating with them, but I don't see why we shouldn't be also looking at others. For example, I was going through the IF website. There's one organization like Core Business Solutions that issue guidance for, I mean, assurance for environmental issues and so on. Accountability is another. I mean, we can consider going in that direction, just a suggestion.
Absolutely, Rania, and thank you for raising that again, because the non-PA community is also very important. And I was listening to you, some examples that you mentioned. We need to find a way of doing this in a structured and a little bit structured way, so as for that not to mean an incredible burden on us. Of course, again, we count on each one of you to do your job in terms of approaching whoever you think it's important. From our side, I think that from the communications team and adoption and implementation, we have like to identify the targets and then send probably some messages which are to some of them, but so as to do it in a way that allows us to reach to a considerable number of organizations, but in a way that does not use the resources to a point that it becomes impossible. So we know that because of the exposure draft was really demanding in that respect. We need to find ways of doing it in a more structured and planned way, so that. Okay.
I just want to say that I definitely think, and we have already discussed this in the adoption and implementation, that, I mean, of course, we can really support in this in terms of identifying, but my point was more on like publicly, considering to go publicly in the sense that, you know, the IESA is not just a standard to be used with IEESB, just to make that statement so that the world, I mean, we reaffirm this. I know this is obviously, it has always been our approach, but to sort of confirm it and to try to also build some form of coordination with other assurance providers. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rania, for sure. Mark, please.
Thank you. Just to sort of add ever more to your list, Linda, like from my perspective, there are quite a lot of events that happen in any case. So having, you know, 4 to 6 bullet points that we can feed into some of those from the IESBA perspective, make a plea, no slides, don't like slides, don't use slides, but bullet points with key messaging, and then, you know, we can feed those in as other events come through. And I should say I've had a request that I know Sylvia's aware of to do a webinar for the IFER membership in March.
Okay, thank you, Mark. We did it for the exposure draft. We had like 2 pages document with the bullets with the main messages. And I think we should prepare something similar again. We had the help of Brunswick by the time, but I think that now we must be able to do it ourselves in a way that assists and supports board members and everyone in speaking about the standard. And being clear about the value proposition, which is, I think, the most important thing at this phase. Sadia, please.
This is a very exciting time. We've been talking about it and building the car, and finally we're ready to reveal it. I think strategically, this conversation is probably the most important one, and I would welcome more of this conversation because as we prepare for launch, we also have to keep the momentum of that excitement alive in months to come. I think that the team has a hard job in front of them, but if we identify a week where we might not be seeing some traction, we should tap on people and say, let's create the traction so that we continue this excitement and this momentum. And we might be competing with ourselves sometimes, and we must already foresee that and see how we can space out communication so that, and when I say this, I'm talking about firm culture and governance, tax planning, which will also be in the media, and we should see how we allow for this platform to be elevated. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sadia, and I could not agree more. And it's something that we need to keep in our minds. This is not for the 22nd of January, which I think is the date that is being planned for the launch. But it's for the next very many months to keep this alive. And this is not this is going to be an effort. But as you say, and I liked your word. It's going to be very exciting. Christelle, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the work. It's very interesting and key to success. I find the contribution of the board brilliant, so I concur with all was said. I think I have not the slides, so maybe I'm coming back on something that should have been clear to me. But the fact that we are having a plan for a launch, in fact, is a plan for a journey. And the fact that we have other kind of documents that would need the support of targeted communication should be in synergy, to maintaining the attention, the traction, like Sadia said, and adding to the communication plan, maybe through targeted, because I would expect that for the FAQs support is targeted to other audiences maybe, or in a different way. But I think it's important that we have a view on how to maintain that traction over the months. And of course, built on how not to kill the main message, but raise also attention to all the other good standards we are launching, like tax experts, etc. And there is a value in there. It's a lot of work, not to jeopardize one with the other, but I think there's value behind that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these encouraging words, Christelle, and for seeing the support from the board. Begoña, I think I'm going to give you the floor now.
Thank you, Gabriela. Well, we really, PIOB, welcome very much the well-structured communication plan that I understand is for sustainability and experts. So all the other topics that are really important, I agree with the comments that have been said, but now you are talking about sustainability and experts. So we think that this is a very well-structured plan. So congratulations for that. But we would have liked to see more collaboration with the IESB. So in the note that was distributed, there is only a line that mentioned about the collaboration. Also, here in this presentation, I only saw some few words about that, and we understand that, well, it's so close as the technical and the ethical aspects of the assurance of sustainability reporting that it would be a pity not to consider them in a more holistic way and make a more, well, combined launch of the two standards from the one board and the other board in a more holistic way. Because for the stakeholders, both are necessary, both parts are key, and then it will be good to approve, to take that more in a more more stronger way. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Begonia. The coordination is there, is being put in place and will happen. It's not in this presentation probably that clear, but as I mentioned, everything is being structured and planned for a joint launch. This is clear, and that, sorry? The launch and many other initiatives. What we are speaking about is about a number of initiatives that, of course, part of them may be shared. Of course, we are not going to speak for the IESBA. It's not our role, but we have been coordinating everything with IESBA. Coordination doesn't mean that we have that we can go at the same time doing the same things. That's what I tried to explain. IESBA approved the standards in September, was certified in November, and is everywhere. Has made the way in making these standards known, not only awareness, but there is a lot of initiatives already, fortunately and happily, in terms of adopting or using the standards as we were expecting that would happen. We discussed that in many places. So since September, there has been a way that has been made very successfully by the IESBA to a point that they are now in a moment where they need probably other kind of initiatives. We are lagging behind for the reasons for objective reasons, which is we approved later and will be certified later. So we need to do that way, also because the IESBA is by nature more well known than the IESBA. So these initiatives, part of them, are a big effort that we have to make to eventually get to the same place where they are today, hopefully. So it doesn't mean what is not in the slides. The slides doesn't capture all our life. What Linda presented and David presented is our strategic approach to how we are going to make these standards, experts and sustainability go out, be adopted, known, understood, etc., which of course does not preclude a lot of joint initiatives, as I was saying, including some joint outreach and some plans that we have, and I don't want to speak about them now because it's very early days, but which are, being developed in our not only in our minds but in our actions. So probably on the next phase, you will see more of joint action. But it's important that everybody understands that we are not at the same phase of the process, so we can't do everything together because one of us would be failing something. So, and we need to understand this different pace, and we are trying to close that gap for one day later, possibly be more aligned and consistent in our action. Ken.
Yes, speaking about IESBA coordination with IESBA, in fact, as Chair Gabriel has mentioned, we have this front of mind, certainly also seeing it as a priority for us. But as we've been speaking, things have been happening. Things have been happening in the background, and just as a case in point, we have been invited to participate in a joint workshop organized by PAFA, that's a Pan-African Federation of Accountants, precisely on the launch day of the sustainability standards on January 22nd. And I have offered myself and Sylvia to participate in that workshop. It is titled Sustainability Reporting Champions from Professional Accountancy Organizations and Securities Market Regulators. And it is being organized, as indicated by PAFA. It is a virtual workshop on the 22nd of January. It is going to have participants from 5 East African countries, as well as Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa. So that is quite a substantive and substantial workshop covering a number of key countries in the African continent. And there are going to be representatives from the IFRS Foundation to speak about adoption and implementation for IFRS S1 and S2. We will have a representative on the IWSB staff also participating in that workshop, speaking about ISA 5000. And of course, Sylvia and myself will be there to speak about the ESR. And the timing couldn't be, well, it couldn't be perfect because that's when we're planning to launch the sustainability standards, of course, subject to PIB certification. So that's happening in the background. As indicated, this invitation is pursuant to our very close engagement with PAFA, where we've really been pressing them for opportunities to collaborate. Also in our conversations with the IFRS Foundation, looking for opportunities to partner with them in relation to those types of events where we can really join efforts to support the adoption implementation of our standards.
Yes, and if not everything is, as I was saying, captured in these slides or in the slides that were presented over the week, but there were, over the last weeks, there were a lot of joint outreach moments at IESBA and IESBA. Just, well, thinking about some of them, we were together presenting to the monitoring group. We were together presenting to IFAC Council, even if we were together at UNCTAD ISAR, where Mark and Vanya were kindly, well, Mark was kindly representing the IESBA. Vanya was in her many hats, but also speaking about ethics. Tom Seidenstein was there as well. We were together presenting, well, there were a lot of situations, C1 meeting where IISB and IESBA were also together, and there are coming opportunities, and just, well, this is nothing that is completely planned, but Tom and I will in principle be in Abu Dhabi in February to start planning something bigger over the year in terms of a big conference or something like that that might be organized by local stakeholders, and also with Dubai and things like that. We will be presenting to C1 in Paris, Madrid in February as well. So the number of situations where we are together is a significant one. This is our IESBA strategic approach to what we are going to do with our standards. Mark, please.
I was going to say, and to even say, out of the UNCTAD ISAR came another invite. So next week, Tom and I are on a platform together for the Finance Ministry of Ukraine to talk about our sustainability standards. And they are also interested to see what can happen there. So even in a very challenging situation, people are still very interested to know what we're doing and how it's going to support the quality of sustainability reporting and assurance.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So the number of requests is endless, and in places where we were not expecting to be, I must say, like Albania. Christelle was kindly representing the IESBA because I couldn't do it in Albania. So it's a bit starting to be a little bit everywhere, but I mean, of course, Albania or Ukraine and etc. And come, you presented in an initiative at Kazakhstan. So Mauritius, Cameroon, a bit everywhere, but this is really what we are presenting is the strategic approach for the next times. Yohei, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make a brief comment. When it comes to the IWSB coordinations, it is important to the product itself is consistent. It's one of the important points. And I do recognize that you made a great effort in order to consistent for the terminology and definitions. And so I recognize that it's very important. So it's very important to going forward, we need to consistent when it comes to the product itself and closely coordinate with ISSA 5000 and IEESB. Thank you.
Thank you, Yohai. Ken, please.
So I'm probably between the board and the break that's coming up. But really, one final comment, and that's more addressed to the staff teams here. There is going to be a lot happening over the coming quarter, and what I would ask the staff team is really to pull things together so that we can do a proper report back to the board, as well as an update as to what's coming down the pipeline in terms of the ANI activities, in terms of the communications, in terms of new stakeholders we're engaging with, in terms of where board participants are being involved. So I think it's going to be very important to provide the board with a sense as to, as indeed Linda says, the depth, the width, and the height as well, in terms of the efforts we're putting behind the launch of the sustainability and expert standards. So let's aim to do that. I would say John and Linda in relation to ANI and communications.
Yeah, thank you very much for mentioning that, Ken. And if there is no other comment, that brings me or gives me a segue for the next, or not the next, the comment that I would like to make, which is the reason why this is being presented and discussed with the board is because the vision here is that communications is a strategic topic. It's not a back office or whatever support function. It's really part of what we do. We can, I'm going to say the obvious, but we can develop the best standards ever, the most perfect product. If they don't go out, if they are not adopted, if they are not known, they are not useful. They are just an academic exercise on which we can have a lot of pleasure, but we are not serving the public interest. So this is really the instrument to activate the good things that we do and put them at the service of the public interest. And on that, I have a clear vision and a very clear vision and an opinion. So the reason why this is being brought to the board is not because we want to, show off whatever we have to show off, and I think it's good work is being done, but it's really because this is something on which the board must be involved at the strategic level, at decision level, and activation level. This, of course, also brings me in connection with what Ken just said. A lot is going to be happening, but there has to be a close coordination between the technical side and the communication side. This can't be, if we take them as two separate lines of work, we will fail. Because the communications cannot create a product, and this idea that the communications can do something on the basis of nothing, it's completely false. They need the product, the material, the basis, and the technical work has to be taken to the communications and used by the communications, and it's the way of making this technical work become important, relevant, useful, and etc. So this is a call for the board, the staff, of course, but to take this, I think this is important to embed in our DNA that we need to be as robust in terms of what we produce as we will be in terms of what we give the stakeholders with this product. So this is where we are. This is a clear vision that we have been developing over the last times. This was what brought us time ago to have an external consultant to help us in a very critical moment. And I keep on thinking that it was really important because not only helped with the moment, but helped with the learning, the internal lessons for the team about how to work strategically on communications. We will have Rui sitting back as of January, joining the team and while bringing additional knowledge and skills to this communications topic. But I feel comfortable with this because I had so many conversations and so interesting with some board members over these last 2 years, who not only supported my vision, so I thought I'm not alone, but also inspired me and gave me the right incentive to go for us to go in this direction. I hope that this is well, I heard the words excitement and etc. I hope that this is exciting for you, but also that you will be really excited about helping us in the many forms and ways that you can do. And we heard translations, contacts to the media that you locally may have and that can be very important. Helping sharpening the message and the value proposition, which is something where the board, I think, can be very useful. Finding our champions. And this is going to be critical also going forward, finding people who can help us pass the message in a respected way, in people who are respected, which voice goes far, and can advocate for our message. All this is a job for the board. I see a lot coming into the adoption and implementation group, and I'm not concerned, but I think that we need to address it rightly. Otherwise, you risk being paralyzed by so many things coming to your plate. But this just speaks about the right decision that we made in creating this group, because now we have a focal point where we can bring things and make them be addressed consistently. So Linda and Dave, from your side, anything that you want to add? I think that you also have a lot coming into your plate, and Rui as well. Astrid has been helping also on communications. She's always behind the screen, but she has always been a good support in this, and I think that Astrid likes it, which is good. So we already have it's not a big team, but it's a team, and I hope we will make the best out of it. But Linda, Dave, your inputs?
No, just thank you very much for your input. And if anything comes to your mind after you leave New York City, feel free to message myself, Dave, Astu, and we'll address it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would just say January 22nd is IESBA's moment to shine, along with IEESB. You saw yesterday the engagement we got that Linda showed you. If you go on the LinkedIn today, it's really a great testament to not only the hard work, but the fact that people want to know about this issue. They want to see change. And in January, please help us engage with all the content that we share out. And between now and January, if you want to, get a little more in depth on your LinkedIn, shoot me an email, give me a call, and we'll set up some time to get you ready for that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Linda. And Ivan, a special thanks to both of you for the great work that you have been doing very professionally, and what has been presented just speaks about it. We feel very, very comfortable with the support that you are being providing. But I think that you will be also more comfortable with the support that the board is going to provide you, because you can't do everything alone. And that this is something that we must recognize. I think that we should break now, a little bit later than supposed, but okay, change of plans. You won't have your coffee break now. And this is because, I see some faces looking at me. If you really, really feel that you need to break, we will break. But we have important things to do now, which is a farewell to the board members who will leave us before we close the public session. If you're really feeling hard that you need a break, we can do it after the break. I'm seeing Mark. Go. Okay. We don't want to rush this session. So unfortunately, and I was trying to delay this moment, but there is a moment where you have to face it. We have board members leaving us. We have technical advisors leaving us. As I always say, they do not leave. They just move a little bit away. But they will stay, and they will stay in many ways because we will miss them. And we've seen this week that we have mentioned and we miss and recalled some people who were important along the way for what we did today, even if they are not in different ways with us anymore. And this is going to be the case, of course, for board members Laurie and Andy, who were with the board for such a long time, with such strong contributions, dedication, and sometimes in difficult situations, where I think that they were always loyal to the board. So Laurie and Andy will leave. Laurie will still made herself available to keep on advising on the experts' work, the rollout of the standards, and etc. So and Laurie's in New York. Is based in New York, so she's at the distance of a call, and I think that we will keep on seeing her many times around, which is very good. On my side, I must thank very dearly the two board members, here especially Laurie, for her dedication over the last 2 years as a vice chair. It's a great support in many senses, and I must say, a friend. The complicity between the two of us, I think it's something that always enriches the professional performance, is that people can connect so well, and that's what happened. It's not only the colors, and this week we behaved. I mean, this week we had a call every night to make sure that we are not wearing the same colors. Because I'm making fun, that was not the case. But the fact that this time we did not wear the same colors does not mean that the coordination and is not the same and as good as it is. Laurie was also chair of the experts task force, and I'm not going to repeat everything that I already said about the challenge. And it was a real challenge. It started after the sustainability project. There was no research, fact-finding, etc., strategic discussions held before. So it was really starting from scratch in a very, very fast pace, with a strong task force, I must say. And I think that Laurie will recognize it, that the task force was very helpful, and the staff as well, Cam, and then Joanna, when they joined, they did a very good job. But I'm very thankful to Laurie, not only for the dedication and the commitment and etc., for navigating some difficult moments and obstacles along the way, namely, and not only, but namely with experts, because there were very difficult strategic conundrums that we need to overcome, and Laurie was also the one on the side of the solution. And good solutions, balanced solutions, balancing the interests, the public interests, the difficulties, and etc., able to explain things to everyone at the board and to the outside world in a very clear and calm way, which is provides confidence, provides reliance, and helped us a lot in getting into yesterday to an approval without apparently any issues remaining. So thank you for that. But beyond the experts' work, well, Laurie was a member of the tax task force as well. And this, I can speak about what I saw when I was here, but Laurie was instrumental in bringing the message back to the profession, and bringing, establishing this bridge between the profession and the IESBA, which is something very important. We need the profession to be involved in our work. We need the contributions of the profession, and Laurie find a very special way of balancing these positions and these perspectives and etc. And the result is what we know. We started at the tax standards with a very, very significant pushback. Of course, this is also due to Jens' skills, knowledge, and ability in terms of providing the messages to the right people in the right way. And I'm not saying that the task force and the staff and etc. were not helpful. Of course, they were extremely helpful. But I must highlight the role that Laurie, the special role that Laurie played there in bridging the profession and the profession perspective and understanding, and the IESBA's objectives. So I could stay here speaking a lot about that. Andy was a board member for 6 years, if I'm not wrong, making part of many task forces, always contributing strongly to the board discussions, many times being the front runner, always the first to kick off the discussion, even in difficult situations where nobody wanted to speak with it. So that icebreaker role was also very important, always very thoughtful and structured approaches, not to speak about about his dedication over all these years. So thank you very much to you, Andy, as well. And then we have a number of technical advisors who were with us, not well for so long as Andrew Picnic. 24 years is really, I mean, it's not, it's almost half of my life. Well, more or less. Getting to a third, but so Crystal, who was Chana's advisor until now. There will be a rotation for reasons that Chana may want to explain or not, but has nothing to do with Crystal's performance. On the contrary, it's about local representation and a contribution from different stakeholders. So Kristen was with us, I don't know for how many years, because I think you were there, or you joined us at the time as same time as Chana? No. You were there already before, so a lot of years. Thank you very much, Kristen, and thanks also to CIANZ for giving you the time and the opportunity and the supporting you in supporting Chana over these years. This is very recognized and very appreciated. And I'm sure that you will keep on following our work and being an ambassador for the IESBA message as much as possible. The technical advisors fulfill a role, but I think that the ones who go will always be technical advisors and advisors in the sense that they know the work, they know what we do, they understand, they are part of the family. So thank you very much for staying with us all this time. And we have Ellen Goria as well. Ellen was also for us for quite a number of years. I don't know exactly how many because you were there already when I joined, but Ellen was supporting Andy over these years. Also an important, very important contribution, and also connecting us with IICPA in many senses, not least the fact that we are welcomed by IISCPA in some meetings. But Ellen has been part of some groups as well, just like Kristen, and Task Force is providing her contribution and in a very significant way. It's always very, so thank you very much, Ellen, and thank you to IISCPA as well for allowing you the time and the space to be part of us and to be supporting us. Maybe some of these people will come back later in the later moment. We have seen that people come and go. They never get disconnected from the IESBA, and if there are opportunities, they will come back to the table. But for now, there is an interruption in this very close collaboration. But we will keep everybody in the family. So thank you very much to all of you. And before we go to the gifts, I think that they need an applause. You want to say something, Laurie?
Yes, I do. Yeah, no, just very briefly. I mean, really, and it goes without saying what an honor it is to be an IESBA director and serve 2 terms, which I've loved. I will say I started right after COVID, and so my first meeting was on lockdown. And for 2 years continued on that. Rich and I started at the same time. So it was an unusual way to start, but certainly was very glad when that was over and we got to work together in person with people. And I will say, just working with such a diverse, really smart group of people, both the board members and the staff and everybody associated, has just been a pleasure. I've been challenged. I've learned a lot. I've made some good friendships. And I'm going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss the challenge, the intellectual challenge, sometimes in topics that I really didn't understand very well and had to work and dig into. But it's been great being on task forces, on working groups, in particular being Gabriella's vice chair for the past few years, and amazed by your energy and enthusiasm and leadership and direction and what she's done for us as a board. I think every IESBA board member should be so proud of what we've accomplished. And I think we must all feel that way this week because it's been such a tough 2 years getting the heavy lift done on these standards and the participation and the fingerprints of just about everybody on the board and the staff on that. So I leave feeling proud as well, as all of you should. And I'm looking forward to watching what you do and staying in touch myself and helping where I can and being a good cheerleader. And my last thank you actually goes to Cam, who I've spent the last 2 years with. And frankly, I think I speak for our whole task force. It's just great work. All right, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to take a picture.
This is your certificate.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can open this?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
open it. You can open it
Thank you.
here.
Well, thank you. Well, maybe I'll take it back to my,
Yeah.
my take. My,
Okay, as you wish. You have to find out how to take the bottle out of that box. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry.
I, as usual, have some notes because I won't remember what I want to say. Okay, so thank you, everybody. And I'll undoubtedly not remember everybody or everything, but this has been a very enriching moment for me. And I certainly want to especially thank Stavros, who was the chair for my first 3 years, and Gabriella, who was the chair for the second 3 years, for both their competence and courtesy that they've shown me, and I appreciate that. And of course, I have to give a special shout out to Ellen for her technical support and advice and thoughtful connection that she helped to put me in touch with resources. And just as a group, I think the technical advisors are amazing and have the level of knowledge that are comparable to board members. And I do encourage all board members and IESBA staff to accept and consider all their input because it is extremely thoughtful and very knowledgeable. I also do want to thank the AICPA for their confidence in initially putting me up for this position. I do want to assure and confirm with everyone that the AICPA has never asked me to vote in a particular way or to express any particular opinion. And indeed, there are probably some that they may not have particularly necessarily agreed with, but I do very much appreciate their support. I am very passionate about the public interest and of the accountancy profession. I mean, perhaps since I first heard about the public accountancy profession, actually when my father was a stockbroker here in New York, and he would tell me about the financial statements he would look at to help make his investment advice, and that they had this magical audit report on them, which is how we could rely on them. So that actually just ended up driving my interest. And I'm very proud that the professional accountancy name in the United States is certified public accountant, because I do take the phrase public as a very important aspect. And even though we've disagreed at times, please keep in mind that I've always considered that for everything that I've debated here. Somehow, miraculously, over the last 24 years, I added it up. I've been on standard setting bodies 17 of those years, 4 different standard setting bodies, an accounting standard setting body, an auditing standard setting body, and 2 ethics standard setting bodies. And I do take note of the kindness and welcome shown to me and my wife, Laura, when she's been at events. Perhaps amazingly, you might not this might not make sense, but at times I feel like I'm an imposter when I'm here in this room of outstanding global experts. And again, you might find this amazing. I still always think of myself as the new kid on the block. And yet, to my amazement, at 6 years, I've served on the board longer than anyone here. And I do want to thank Gabriella I thought I had 2 terms. And it was going to be up after 5 years, but you told me that I still had the 6 years and encouraged me to apply for that last year, and I'm glad I did, because much has happened here. And again, your knowledge and engagement of our profession is amazing. I've learned so much from my global associations and from my travels. It's opened my eyes and expanded my knowledge of humankind. I do want to also encourage you that as the board moves forward to a staff-driven model, I encourage all members to take advantage of that and not let the moment pass, but to leverage your time and to interact proactively and engage with the staff as the PIOB vetted board members. And please know that this is not the end. You should all know that you can call on me at any times to interact either virtually or, better yet, in person in your various countries. And again, I do want to thank you for the opportunity to address the board and for the courtesy and for these very thoughtful gifts that I'll spend the next several minutes trying to open. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Laurie, for your both wonderful contribution over time. Now, I'm going to give the certificate to our dear TAs who are leading us. So, thank you very much for everything. And thank you also. Please bring forward my gratitude and my gratitude to everyone at the channel. It's also very grateful for your contribution. I hope you stay around. And finally, Ellen. Thank you so much. Thank you. This year, I'm still. Thank you very much.
This has been a tremendous experience, and I really appreciate everything that the board has given me and been able to bring back and bring to our.
Thank you. We'll keep on counting on both of you, as I said, so you will not be released from the IESBA. So thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. With this, I think that we are ready to close the public session. Kat, before I close?
Yes. Well, I mean, maybe you close and then we have a video to play.
Okay.
For the department.
Okay, so I'll close because the video is much more interesting than my words. So I'm going to be brief. I think that we said a lot over this week. We achieved a lot. This is probably the most important meeting in terms of achievements, or not probably, I'm sure, since I started my job here. We did it. And 2 years ago, we were not sure that we were going to be able to do it. We did it. This is a lesson for the board. This is a lesson for our stakeholders. Hopefully, this made us grow and will make us grow as we go, as a standard setter, as an international organization, as an entity which is here to serve the public interest. There won't be few obstacles and difficulties ahead, but that's life. That's how things go, and I think that we are strong enough as a board to face those difficulties, go over the line with them, and get where we want to go. Thank you heartfeltly to all the board members, and again, and to the staff. And in this regards, I need to leave again, as always, but here very specially, a very, very, very a great expression of my gratitude to the staff for all that I have been through over the last 2 years, very particularly, I would say, over the last months. These people did not have summer break, basically. Some of them took 1 or day, but you're here in front of people who have been working relentlessly and non-stop for many, many months to be this possible and achievable. We hope that going forward and over the next few weeks, they will have time for a good break, which is absolutely necessary, and that we will be able to structure the work in ways that this is not going to happen again. But the circumstances brought us here, so I couldn't be more grateful for them, for the dedication, for the offer of their time, of their patience many times, and their work. A very special word to each of each of them and all of them, and recognizing that some of them were more involved in the projects that we are finalizing now, very pressured. But that means that the others would have to take on them a lot of things to allow them to free them up for this. So this is again a collective result and a collective achievement, which was extremely burdensome to everyone, but it's not the burden only the burden that I want to highlight is the quality, which is the most important thing of all. It was possible that in this a little bit hectic circumstances, that some things would not have gone as well as we would like, and that's not what I have seen. What I have seen was a full commitment to quality, high quality, and the public interest. And of course, a very special word also to those who organized this meeting, as usually seamlessly with the activities and etc. Here, very in particular, Astu and Diana, who are always behind the scenes making this possible and so fantastic. And a very special word to Ken, again, who is everywhere, taking care of everything and deserves all our recognition. So I think that we close the year and we close this cycle with a lot of reasons to be proud of the board, proud of the staff, proud of our stakeholders who have, over the last 2 years, I would say, come closer to us, and with lessons to take that we will take, but came closer to us and helped us immensely in very many ways, and proud of the work that we are finalizing now and of what's starting now with the approval of some projects and some agreements on a few things that we are doing and on which we are innovating. So if I may, before we go to the video, another round of applause to 2024 and the future. Before the video as well, and I don't want to say that it's less important, but Begoña, do you need to say something? Do you want to say something to close the session?
Well, I think you made a very good speech to close the session, so I don't have to add anything. Yes, I made my comments during these days. I congratulate the board for having ended these projects that are really important. I don't want to refer to anyone in particular. All have been important projects during these 2 years or 3 years. And for that, I have to congratulate all of you. And the other thing I want to mention is that, well, this is my last observation as PIOB member. So I'm happy to share this with you. This is my end of my period. So, well, there will be another person in the future. Well, Janine Van Helevan has been attending this, but there could be some others. But it's been a real pleasure for me. I learned a lot attending to these meetings about knowing you, knowing the dynamics that how they work, how the board works. And to me, it has been a very, very pleasant and interesting experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Begonia. We still have the executive session with you, so I was reserving also a few words for that moment, but thank you for your contribution over the years. I think that you joined more or less at the same time as I did, that we met for the first meeting when Stavros was still here. So it was also a journey together, and it's so interesting to see how people over time, it has been 3 years, get closer and understand better each other and our roles and etc. So thank you for your very good contribution from the PIOB side over these 3 years. Sorry. So it's not over yet. The video is coming. We still have a few heavy things. Laurie.
It'd be nice on my desk. I hope you spelled my name right. It's permanent.
So this is Laurie's and Andy's plaque. Hope not. Hope
That's
not.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's what we have to put in the right place to get out of our escape.
Okay, so now finally the expected video. Astrid, please. Thank you once again for those who prepared the video, and I'm not going to say names because I think that there were a few people involved, but thank you very much. And thank you again to all those who served the board so well over these last years. You will stay with us. And with this, the public session is closed. We will have a break now, of course, and then we will have the executive session, and we will kindly ask the observers not official observers, so Begonia is going to stay in Yohei as well, but the other observers, non-official observers, to not join us in the room, although you can stay for the lunch if you want, but because this is a closed session with the board, staff, and public observers. Thank you very much, and see you in March.
So we're resuming. I would suggest we resume around 11:50. There's break outside, break food.